I was talking with a close friend the other day, and she was sharing some things with me about her relationship. And I couldn't help but notice a lot of the similar behaviors that she was describing to me that my husband had shown. And I could clearly see in her situation where she was being manipulated and her feelings weren't being considered. But at the time in my relationship, I couldn't see that that was happening. And so I realized it was time to leave my relationship after I knew that there was nothing that was going to change the situation because he didn't want to change. And so I wanted to share a few things that let me know it was time to leave my relationship. I noticed early on that a lot of the things that my partner would do was more about appearances and less about actually performing the action or the actual task. And I had a vending business when I met my partner, and he took over running the day-to-day operations. And he would love to tell everybody about how much money the business made, how many locations we had, the types of locations we had. But when it came to actually running the business, he wasn't really doing that. He was only really filling the machines and left the bulk of the work to me. But he always made sure to tell anybody who would listen how much money we were making and how great we were doing, even though he wasn't really contributing to that factor. I always noticed that he wanted to be acknowledged and given credit for things, even though he knew he was not an equal partner. He did not carry his weight, or he didn't even know how to do a lot of the things that were required to be done. And this led me to be frustrated because I wanted for my partner to feel like a part of the business, but I also felt conflicted with myself and giving somebody credit when they didn't do any work. And anytime I tried to convey how I felt about the situation, or any situation for that matter, it was never met with any accountability. It was never, oh, I'll do better, or I'll change, or I understand, or I'm sorry I made you feel that way. It was always about what I could do differently, not about how he could change his behavior. And that was all across the board, with the business, with the children, with our house. It was never anything that he could do better. It was always something that I should do. And I remember specifically when early on in our marriage, when I noticed that he was not cleaning up. And it was very ironic because he would go and clean up litter for free everywhere else, and 30 minutes away from where we lived. And he would consistently go do that for free. But our house was a mess. So at a certain point, I started to point out, like, hey, you left that there. Can you pick that up? And he's, that's just petty. You could just pick that up. No, we're at the point where you're always leaving things, and I'm tired of picking them up. However, I didn't want to live in a messy house, so I ended up picking them up anyway because I didn't want the house to look a certain way. And this led to more and more frustration, and that built into resentment. And along the same lines of not having any accountability for his actions, there was also never any acknowledgement of mine. I never received really any birthday presents, any presents just because, push gifts, Mother's Day gifts, holiday gifts. I don't really remember receiving, I did not receive anything like that. But in an effort for me to try to save the relationship, I was always going out of my way for his birthday or whatever the case may be when it was related to him, a business venture he wanted to do, to make sure that I did things that would help him, but he never did the same for me and never acknowledged me and never really showed that he appreciated me. And so it grew into more and more resentment because I'm asking all this time for you to do better or acknowledge me, see me, hear me, and it just never happened. There were a lot of things that happened throughout the relationship that led me to not trust him. And even though I wanted to trust him, there was no way to rebuild the trust that was broken. There was so many things that happened, that lies that were being told that were big and small. And when you tell a lie and you keep a lie going for so long, when you can just tell the truth, it makes it worse when the truth does come out. And so I realized that it was definitely time to leave my marriage when I knew that there was no way I could build the trust back in my relationship. If any of these behaviors sound like something that your partner is displaying, it might be time for you to consider something else, because as women, we're always told to, oh, marriage is hard and it's a lot of work, but we're not meant to be the only one doing the work. We're not meant to be the one making the therapy appointments or trying to plan the dates or trying to plan whatever it is to fix the relationship, when a lot of the times it's not us who broke it. So if any of this resonates with you, it might be time for you to sit silently with yourself and really consider if this relationship is serving you.